My name is Hannibal William Jones. I grew up in Mississippi. I was the second of 14 children. It was 11 boys and 3 girls. We grew up in school telling everybody football team and 3 cheerleaders. Nobody messed with those cheerleaders. We protected them. And most of the boys worked in the fields as they got old enough to work in the fields. The girls assisted mom in the cooking and cleaning in the house. I went 2 years college at Russ College, Holly Springs, Mississippi. I was drafted out of college and went into the Army in 1958. After basic training, my first duty station was Fort Bliss, El Paso. Air defense artillery, and I enjoyed it. That was part of my training, air defense, missile training, guiding missiles from one point to another. And you had to know your graph and all of that, otherwise you may send it to your unit. I had 2 tours of duty in Vietnam. The first tour of duty was strictly working with a team that was training the Vietnamese Southern soldiers because the French had moved back to their country and American troops went over to assist them to get trained and familiar with the type of missiles and stuff that we had supplied them with. The second tour, after I came back to the United States and had a tour in Germany, I went over on a regular tour back to Vietnam, to where I was on a team and teach them how to operate, go on maneuver, what you call locate and destroy enemies which had infiltrated to come south of Saigon in the Delta, because we were down in the Mekong Delta. I was wounded after completing a search and destroy mission coming back, and we was cleaning our weapons, and one of the team members was a little careless, and he was training his weapon and got a little careless and fired it, and unfortunately it hit me. And where I'd mentioned earlier, it 2 times on the right side and 1 on the left, and that was my end of my tour. I was medevac to the hospital, medically transferred to Yokohama, Japan, stayed there 6 months, then transferred to Fort Hood, Texas, where I was transferred into completion and began to full work again in full duty.
So,
Yes, I would do it all over again because it afforded me opportunities. I got to see countries that I would not ever seen, because growing up in Mississippi and growing up on a cotton field, for me, and I looked at it, if I hadn't been in the military, I wouldn't get to see these other countries. Where are you going to get a job, qualification, where you can go to Germany or Korea, where it wasn't a conflict going on at that particular time, because the Korean conflict was over before they brought me into the armed forces, because I was drafted, wasn't put into fact until after the Korean conflict. But yeah, I would do it all. You don't really get to know the cotton field unless you go on the field and pick, say, 100 pounds of cotton by noon. If you weren't picking 100 pounds on a cotton sack, hooked over your shoulder, pulling it. See, if you were picking cotton, you would straddle a row, and you getting a good cotton picker would do that. If you're not a good picker, you just get on one row and you go down. But if you're a good cop picker, you get between the two rows and go from one side. And if you didn't get 100 pounds by noon, you weren't doing anything. You were just out there. So yeah, as a good cotton picker by noontime, you would get you 100+ pounds. You would go home and eat, and by 1 o'clock, you'd be back out there and get you another 100 pounds by 5 o'clock or sundown. Well, I would pray that I would tell my grandkids, I would pray that I have provided enough for them where they wouldn't have to pick any cotton. I didn't enjoy it, but that was the only thing my parents had at that time, and it was our livelihood. So if I didn't have anything, I would tell them, go out there until you could do better. Well, let's see, on the farm, or just my fondest memory of all the things that ooh. Well, I would say all of my fondest memories are all of the experiences I went through, even the cotton field, going to the Army, driving the tractor trailer to see this country, prepared me for jobs that I encountered or performed later on. For instance, driving across the country to see this wonderful United States prepared me for Postal Service. I drove tractor trailer for the United States Postal Service, made decent money. Had I not driven a tractor trailer across the country, I wouldn't have been qualified to drive a tractor trailer delivering mail within a local county. So I learned from a lot of the things that I didn't particularly enjoy, but it prepared me for other things that I found and I did enjoy, or enjoyed them better than what I learned this job from.
How many jobs have
I retired from the U.S. Army, the U.S. Postal Service, and the Clayton County School Board. 3 jobs. Clayton County School Board, I taught drivers how to drive school buses. I taught drivers how to drive school buses. I filled in for drivers when they were short. And that was it. I did that for about 8 or 10 years. I would tell him, you may have a job you don't enjoy, but prepare yourself. You can always prepare you for a better job or a future job, or find one that you enjoy. There were jobs that I didn't particularly care for, but I didn't stay there. I prepared for another job that I enjoyed. And when I got it, I've got myself prepared for it, I moved forward. 30 years, 3 months, 21 days. Yeah, well, I would tell them, if you have a job and you are unhappy with it, don't let it take you down. Look for something that you enjoy and you are qualified. If you're not qualified for it, prepare yourself and then go get it. Yeah.